Daddy! There you are! Nice work, Harry. Hope Dad's junk wasn't too much of a problem for you.
Hi, I'm KB. Usually when we play a PS1, we think of Lego blocks to replace limbs and mono audio, which Harry Potter for the PS1 definitely has. I played it back when I was little, went through it all within about 5 to 6 hours, wondering why I had to take leaps of faith to get to class and why Ron didn't at least have the decency to call Hermione a pretentious twat in process of being two-faced to her, while in front of her. And going back to the game at the age of 20, I can safely say that my opinions about the game have not changed a bit. So did anything change with this game coming out? Let's go through this review with giving it nothing but bad feedback, and because we hate it, and that's why we make this review. 0 out of 10. This hasn't started yet. Now there is one major thing that has to be made clear when stepping into this game at first glance.
Harry Potter's first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was very eventful indeed.
When you oogle your ears at the fact that Stephen Fry is narrating and you feel compelled to give it a 10 out of 10,
Draco Malfoy.
It's vocally cock-blocking for other people to exaggerate their voice acting and make it extremely unfitting and in some case very disturbing.
Ronald Weasley, I thought I asked you to stop that ghoul from making such a racket. He's still dropping pipes over the attic floor. It's driving me mad. It's driving me mad.
I mean, they take a shy Dobby from which you experienced in the movies, and then they turn him into a bossy, sterny two-shoes.
Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts. If Harry Potter goes back, he will be in mortal danger.
Although at times it's very easy to notice how many takes Steve's voiceovers are recorded in.
Harry had managed to defeat Lord Voldemort.
And speaking of disturbing that I mentioned before, that is one of the many words I would use to describe this game. Things happen when they're not supposed to, such as Harry and Ron located outside when we just saw them run into the house a few minutes ago. And then the great polish up of graphics from the first game. Okay, don't give me that PS1 argument. There are plenty of games that did a decent job with graphics on the PS1, so I can't exempt that from anything. I mean, look at the mandrakes. They look like Gaia fetuses. Neville's face is almost messed up. I mean, I hope his puberty process is as good as in real life. And where the fuck is Lockhart's neck? And Hagrid looks a bit like a gnome. Please don't tell me that's a human face on Aragog. What are you? Not to mention the characters have no problem with run and jump, seeing as they hardly build a pace up to make that leap of faith. I mean, since when did Ron become a ninja? I mean, he can't simply go into the house and go into the attic. No, that would be too boring. And since when have wands become a magic cigar? To elaborate on how out of the ordinary the Weasleys are, there seems to be an unexplained reasoning as to why they keep a mini Jason Voorhees in their attic, and almost every face in this game is just as weirdly crafted as you remember it from the first game, which, smiling is always an option, or in Nick's case, really sleepy. You also get attacked by embedded systems. Lesson learned, if you leave skid marks in your pants, your washing machine will strike back. I mean, for Colin Crevius, usually the person in the picture who has to keep still, but your body just flows all over the place. Although I suppose it beats this reaction. And there is literally no barriers for these bottomless pits. Have there not been any reports of students falling to their deaths before? Not to mention the weird creatures that exist in the game. Magic off if I am going near slugs that fast. What is that? What is that? What is it? Get away, get away, get away! In this scene where Harry gets a pumpkin thrown at his face, somebody might want to light his face up. And then he gets chased by cupids. This tops my chasers list. Mainly because it is the weirdest chase imaginable for me. Please don't zoom on that face again. It also seems that many people in this game, including Potter himself, can't exactly get a mind of his own.
I think it's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant.
CompareThePotter.com.
Well done, Harry.
I know you mean well, but that sounds very patronizing, so please stop.
It's driving me mad.
So they do so many takes for Stephen Fry, but just one, and only one, for Molly. And speaking of the boy who didn't get zapped, why is a lot of Harry's dialogue just basic?
Is this safe?
Why do you care if it's safe? You're a seeker who chokes on a snitch and plays with boa constrictors.
Are you sure this is safe?
Are you sure you're not a robot?
Gryffindor!
Yeah, and out of place lines as well. I mean, he has to repeat himself for every student who gets to be in that house.
Flying a car right into the Whomping Willow? People will be talking about that one for years.
Brilliant! What an entrance!
People also love to think they're the king of banter. I mean, you can come up with any sort of pun here. Like, I hope he didn't damage the trunk. Somebody should have yelled timber. But Ron Weasley in this game seems to be the most quick-witted.
Look, there's Lockhart's office. I'm surprised he can get his big head through the door.
Ooh.
Ron, you wait here to see if another Gryffindor passes by. I'll find Hermione. She'll know the password.
And then Harry finally wakes up. And when people don't intend to come out with puns, they do it anyway.
Use your knockback jinx to put them in their place.
You filthy mouse little shits and should... Oh, that's not what you meant. Well, either way, it looks like Hogwarts shouldn't invest so much in books on cannibalism. I mean, this movie is all about a giant monster going around and petrifying people, yet you've got books that could kill people in a matter of seconds.
You could have been killed, or worse, expelled.
And I guess they love to recycle old lines. Haven't you heard that one before? People also like to hold your hand with duct tape around both your hands.
Professor Sprout has put me here to tell all students where Greenhouse 3 is. It's through here.
Very helpful for one bloody entrance.
Harry, wait!
What? Speak up, Hermione!
Keep the slugs away from the mandrake using your Incendio Duo spell.
I can't hear you. These earmuffs are very comfy.
How can he call Hermione a mudblood?
Ron, it's only a word.
Although the game actually tends to be a bit more fitting towards the book. I mean, this is actually a more accurate version of Hermione's character. Come to me. We make Dolmio together. And then they have weird sound effects for each of the animals, like pixies sound like cats for some odd reason. And people cheer when there's no one around to cheer.
The race for the House Cup is heating up.
Did you know that if you eat a chocolate frog, you get... Yes, Colin.
It's Potty Wee Potter. He can't get across. Oh, what a baby. He's all at a loss.
Harry Potter, inspired by Dr. Seuss.
Happy Death Day, Nick. I think Ron has a present for you. I'll go and tell him to bring it over.
I think Ron might be a bit too dead to hear you.
Nice earmuffs, Potter. Did your mum make them for you? Oh, I am sorry. I forgot.
Malfoy, you're almost as funny as Filch.
Draco is just as harsh as he is in other adaptations, but Harry's comeback doesn't seem to mind. And people don't know how to spend Christmas properly.
It doesn't look very Christmassy in here, does it?
Is this better?
That should be more like, how about this, you pretentious piece of shit?
Hermione, are you okay?
Oh, you, Harry Potter, stay there. I've got a musical message to deliver to you.
It's Paul O'Grady here. Get me out of this game. I'm not used to going topless in public.
What's that?
If someone else is caught, you'll be let out with a full apology.
And compensation, right? As well as anal surgery. I mean, God knows what Bellatrix gets up to in Azkaban. Get out. Get down. Dressing gown. And the final entry in all of these weird speeches.
Oh, you beat me! Oh, the shame of it. I'll never be able to hold my head up in polite society again.
Are you being politely sarcastic? Let's not forget the irresponsibility and the lack of common sense that occurs in the game. From forgetting about recycling in the Wizarding World, yet they reuse Hermione's lines, to disposing of gnomes in the most extreme way possible. Ugh. Surely doesn't create more of a bloody mess than blending them. And then we go into the forest to find out that Ginny is more of an eye-opener for what else you can learn. So basically, a remembrall is treatment for OCD, but pointless if stuck in your baby's throat. And in the game, a key way to unlock doors is to drop a heavy item onto a platform. I mean, why can't people just use keys or Alohomora like a normal person? And then it seems that Harry is trustworthy with anything, such as driving your own dad's car, since not driving ever before. I mean, I know he's the boy who lived and all, but he's more likely now to be the boy who got mauled by a train. And I think this is one of the stupidest moments in gaming history. They are trying to drive away from a train, yet they get out of a tunnel, but they still drive on the tracks. They do not pick any moment to fly away. Although that will probably make the game less fun, and we can't go below the border of meh now, can we? And in terms of taking your friend to someone who can help him deal with coughing out slugs, why the fuck would someone run with slugs in their stomach? And why would you let them do that? I mean, I thought they'd all be vomited up by now. Did anybody else besides me play this part on mute? And again, there's just some scenes that make you wonder why they're even played like this in the first place. It's like if you get separated from Ron, what happens? He like chokes on slugs in the middle of the forest? I think I'd be able to hear his deafening belches from like 300 miles away. One place, Ron, Jesus Christ. Smashing like a Geordie Hardy! Hey! And that is the strictest time limit I've ever seen. And let's not forget the defiance of reality throughout the game, like Harry going from one place to another. I think he broke his arse there, and then he starts to slide like a glitch from that injury. And now the back suffers. And neglecting that shoulder a little. And then I just love how they make something as simple as going to class make it look like Mission Impossible. Especially when more often than not, jumping can take you in any direction rather than right in front of you. And not to mention how you're the only one who seems to be going to class. And then I do wonder if there's like magical CCTV around the place, because Harry seems to just get points by moving things when nobody's around. Pick up the fork to eat. Awesome! 5 points to Hufflepuff! I'm in Slytherin. And by the perception of the developers, apparently being fat makes it feel like you're running on ice. Can someone really confirm that for me? Bloody hell, this is really fun. I might bite someone in amazement. I also love how people can get from one place to another in seconds without the need for a fireplace. So why do they walk really slowly on patrol unless they're like sprinting, and that takes up a lot of energy from them? But stamina I don't think was invented yet. And is there any particular reason why firecrackers come out of the wand when they lose? Is that the Wizarding World version of spontaneous combustion? And just to make this fight more interesting, the Basilisk is now able to shoot out lasers. Or maybe there's just something about Dolmio we don't know that much about. So that's pretty much all the weird stuff that I can make out from the game. So, what positive can I say? Well, like I probably briefly mentioned before, dueling is a fun aspect. Press buttons to make a potion is more of a challenge. And this is combined with teachers not shutting the hell up. Beats getting hand cramps in my exams, I suppose. Seriously though, this is one thing I don't get. This stuff seemed more like a mini-game than an actual story, but it's included a lot of the time. Regardless, the train scene for me is more of an indifference. I mean, I like how it's implemented, but it can get quite annoying if you don't do what is necessary. Boss fights are either in the shape of auto-aim or free-aim with the way to defeat them, and when it wants the controls to be slippery, it'll let you know. It's just funny how running little errands seems to be mixed with more trouble than worth. Make me a cup of tea. Alright. Mummy, Killer Kettle's being a dick again. It's good to say though that the soundtrack is very enchanting to the ear and is very suitable for a relaxation session, and provides the game with the compensation it needs to survive. And I have to say though, for a PS1 game, the sound effects are quite advanced. I mean, I can walk in the snow and it sounds as if I'd be walking in the same snow in real life. Without salt being on the ground, of course. The Diagon Alley segment is probably the best moment in the game as far as my opinion is concerned, as it's surrounded with all the urban life you'd hope to expect. It doesn't feel like an empty hall, there's a lot more detail to be seen. Places to go, and it just carries a great atmosphere. I'm glad they nerfed some of the controls from the last game with the broom riding, for example, while doing that in the form of 2 different brooms, one being the inverted controls that some games in this generation use for some weird reason. So I'd personally go with the first option, for that reason. Even with that though, the controls are still quite jumpy, so if you turn much, you can go off course. And as for the final boss, I didn't really expect it to be that easy. Honestly, it did not take that much effort for me to beat it. Surprisingly enough though, there leaves a lot of replay value in the game to behold. Collecting all the famous witches and wizards cards, and completing all the founder duels. All of the reward for that is very underwhelming. So overall, I can mainly class it as a charming yet silly game, disturbingly odd, loves to fat shame, makes everybody a brainless drone, and Ron fairly smart. The dialogue is laughable, controls succeed in specific places, and the sound of the game is excellent. So that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna be considering these videos for the future. So more Harry Potter games, because they came out on like different consoles, like the GBA and Game Boy Color, and future games like Deathly Hallows that came out, which I haven't played, but I will play in the near future. So look forward to that. Besides from that, make sure to follow my Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr, etc. And thank you for watching. Lights out. Bearing the fact that you have to witness a giant dangling toy with what appears to be a hollow interior, actually, well, it is